Chapter 2172, Hades, Here I Come. It turns out that among this race, the giant chinchilla is a mutated individual, larger in size and more powerful. The most important thing is that when Zhang Yi kept it as a pet, he also fed it a lot of resources, such as centipedes. These things are renewable, sufficient in quantity, and contain extremely rich energy. Zhang Yi just took those as snacks, but the strength of the big Totoro was a real supernatural power index of 9,999 points. Therefore, it is not only extremely powerful now, but also has an IQ far higher than other burrowing beasts. It easily became their king. After receiving Zhang Yi's message, its eyes narrowed, and it immediately dropped the corn cob in its hand and jumped onto a high platform. Little ones, stop right there and listen to me. The group of burrowing beasts below looked up at it in confusion. Squeak, squeak. The big chinchilla raised his arms high and shouted, "The lizard men have enslaved us for so long, making us do heavy labor every day and not even giving us any good food. A Drigo's life is also a life. We must fight for our own interests and be dignified Dragos." The burrowing beasts below. Looking at these fellow creatures with low IQ, the big chinchilla was speechless for a moment. Then it shouted at the top of its lungs, "Follow me, and you'll get double the food every day." The digging beasts understood the meaning of this sentence and immediately shouted excitedly, "Squeak, squeak, squeak." The big cat Totoro waved his hand and said, "From now on, we will destroy the entire underground power grid of Huaxu country, cut off their energy pipelines, and teach them a lesson. The digger may not be good at fighting, but it is definitely good at destroying houses. Their teeth can even chew diamonds into pieces." Under the command of the big Totoro, the group of digging beasts immediately began to dig into the surrounding area. They will also convey the orders of the big chinchilla to their peers in other areas. When Zhang Yi passed through the defense monitoring system, the security staff discovered abnormal spatial fluctuations again. This time, they also realized that something was wrong. Even if it is a system failure, it is impossible for the same problem to occur again and again. The key is that they have not yet detected where the problem comes from. Either there is a serious problem with the system, or something has sneaked in silently. Several staff members looked at each other, their hearts beating faster. Lizard Man A said, "How about we report the unusual situation here? What if something goes wrong?" Lizard Man B slapped him on the arm and said in a scolding tone, "Are you stupid? We didn't report it last time. If we did this time, we'd definitely be punished if they tracked us down." Lizard Man A said hesitantly, "But what if something serious happens?" Lizard Man B sneered, "What big deal could happen? Even if something horrible were to happen, there are people above us who will take care of it. As long as the responsibility doesn't fall on us, why do you care so much?" Seeing that Lizard Man A was still hesitating, Lizard Man B said calmly, "Think about it. We still have wives and children. What will happen to our families if we are punished?" Lizard Man A was silent for a moment and finally sighed. He concealed the abnormal reaction of the system and did not report it to his superiors. So, Zhang Yi successfully sneaked into the Wulwan Empire. In his mind, Zhang Yi recalled the thing that he and Yang Xinxin had planned hundreds of times. Everything in the plan is combined with the real scene. So Zhang Yi began to sneak into the underground of the Wulwan Empire. In his hands, he held the astonishingly powerful god of love and death. Moreover, after technological improvements, the god of love and death was now comparable to the Wulwan Empire's Doomsday weapon. It is impossible to blow up the entire country. Moreover, it is buried too deep, and the energy is absorbed by the earth, so the effect is limited. But if it is buried too shallowly, it will be easily exposed. After all, the Wulwan Empire also has a defensive network system underground. Judging from the information obtained from the 6 silver-armored generals, 500 meters underground is an excellent area to house the god of death of love. Zhang Yi first came to Dongcheng. His first target of resettlement was the military camp, and secondly the energy plant and chemical materials factory. The resettlement process went very smoothly, and no one discovered the stealth process. If Zhang Yi knew that, in fact, someone had noticed something was wrong every time he came here, but had concealed it time and time again out of human considerations, I wonder what he would think. In this way, Zhang Yi placed the god of death of love in all the important areas of the target city. It concentrates 80% of the love-death gods of the entire Huashu kingdom. Once it explodes, the resulting scene will be so beautiful that people dare not watch it. As for residential areas, there is no need to waste the death of love. The earthquake, shockwave, radiation, and high temperature caused by the explosion were enough to cause them a lot of trouble. At that time, the chaos caused by ordinary lizard men will bring huge trouble to the Wulwan Empire. In the 4 urban areas of East, West, South, and North, Zhang Yi placed the god of death of love in the most critical locations. The final goal is the imperial city in the central area. The royal palace and many nobles live in this place, which also has the most stringent defense. Zhang Yi sneaked over carefully. In the dark underground, he raised his hand, and the dimensional door opened. More than 200 huge love-death warheads appeared underground. Zhang Yi kept a sufficient distance from them. Even though the demon god armor could resist strong radiation, he was still frightened. If this thing explodes at close range, the gatekeeper of the underworld will lose half his life if he doesn't die. But just when Zhang Yi was about to put down the god of love with the detonator installed, a white vortex suddenly appeared in his left eye, and a dangerous sign was born. In the darkness, he saw a huge fist blasting the ground apart and smashing towards him. This deadly feeling of oppression is the gatekeeper of Hades. Zhang Yi immediately realized who was coming. He didn't have the chance to deal with the god of death of love, as there was a violent tremor above his head, and then the ground was torn open by someone. Zhang Yi looked up and saw a tall and majestic figure in black armor rushing towards him. Zhang Yi and Zheng Lu looked at each other. Through the armor, he could feel the eyes behind the mask turning scarlet. When enemies meet, they are extremely jealous of each other. Zheng Lu saw that Zhang Yi dared to sneak into the base camp of the Wulwan Empire. The anger and a trace of panic in his heart made him want to kill Zhang Yi immediately. Damn bug, how dare you come to the imperial capital to cause trouble? I'll kill you. Chapter 2173 Wearable, Human-Machine Integration. The moment the gatekeeper of the underworld appeared, Zhang Yi's body retreated slightly. The next moment, he was already in the sky. I've predicted everything about you. You can't catch me, Zhang Yi said with a smile. At the same time, he was secretly muttering in his heart, the imperial city is different. The security level is much higher than other urban areas. I didn't expect that even the underground actions would be discovered. Call. The storm rushed from underground to the sky. It was a punch thrown by the gatekeeper of the underworld from afar, which actually triggered a terrifying black gale that attacked Zhang Yi like a giant dragon. Zhang Yi dodged with incredible agility. This kind of punch posed no threat to him at all. It was just Zheng Lu's way of expressing his anger. But the next moment, he saw the playful look under Zheng Lu's mask. You stupid, lowly creature. Do you still think we're in the outside world, and I can't hunt you down? Today, you're dead. Above the sky, the light is brilliant. A layer of light blue spherical sky flickered, covering the entire sky tightly. It's impossible to stop me with just this kind of thing, Zhang Yi said lightly. However, soon, a murderous intent completely enveloped Zhang Yi. The huge sky was shining like the sky, and countless huge stars formed magnificent beams of light above the sky, covering Zhang Yi like a dense net. There were thousands of huge rainbow lights that were light blue and almost pure white, containing powerful energy. Once they hit Zhang Yi, they would cause unimaginable damage. Even Zheng Lu himself didn't want to be hit by this thing. Because this is the most powerful defense system of the Wulwan Empire, and it is the fundamental reason why the Wulwan Empire has not been destroyed for billions of years. With Zhang Yi's strength, even if he can predict the future 4 seconds later, being able to foresee it does not mean that he can avoid it. The area he was in now was like a huge cage, trapping him. A look of surprise appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes. What is this? However, the next moment, the stunned expression disappeared and turned into a smile. "It seems like fun." Behind him, Ling's figure suddenly appeared. At this time, Ling's body had been enlarged to the same size as the gatekeeper of the underworld. Her body and chest area slowly expanded like liquid. Zhang Yi took a step back, and his body actually merged into Ling's body. After all, Ling's human body has no spiritual essence, so it is just a body similar to a mechanical life form, and fighting only relies on memory instinct. If you want to maximize her power, you need someone to control her. So, Zhang Yi entered her body, like putting on clothes. In this way, he not only possessed the world's top defensive armor, but his combat power also instantly soared to a level equivalent to an ability index of 55,000 points. Facing the dense and terrifying energy network attack, Zhang Yi raised his hand, and the terrifying rays of light were shattered by his single hand. When Zheng Lu saw this scene, his pupils suddenly constricted. This is impossible. It was obvious that a few months ago, when Zhang Yi saw him, he could only flee and had no ability to fight. Why has it become like this now? He stared at Ling's human form in the sky, not knowing what it was. The huge light curtain above the sky was accumulating even more powerful force like lightning, ready to give Zhang Yi a fatal blow. But Zhang Yi would not be stupid enough to fight on someone else's territory. The dimensional door opened, and he took a step back, leaving Zheng Lu with a playful smile before leaving. "Enjoy the gift I give you. This is your reward for attacking Huashu country and killing my fellow countrymen." The moment Zhang Yi traveled through space and left the iron curtain of the sky, he pressed the detonator. In an instant, in the 4 major urban areas of the Wulwan Empire, at the locations of many military camps, energy plants, and chemical plants, the ground roared, shook, and then collapsed and exploded. It was as if a major earthquake had occurred throughout the entire Wulwan Empire. There were violent tremors in all directions. In the dark night, terrifying flames accompanied by explosions shot up from the deepest part of the underground. The military camp was blown up into the sky, and a large number of lizardmen soldiers in the army turned into dust while they were still sleeping, with no remains left. The terrifying flames, like huge black and red pillars of fire, illuminated the entire Wulwan Empire. Even from dozens of kilometers away, you can clearly see the giant flaming dragons accompanied by thick black smoke. The deafening roar made Zheng Lu stunned for a moment. He watched helplessly as the empire where he had lived for hundreds of years and existed for billions of years was brutally destroyed. Mushroom clouds rose into the sky one after another. It was unknown how many people were killed by this round of explosion. Moreover, the destroyed areas were military camps, energy plants, chemical plants, and other locations. The secondary explosions caused by these explosions and the leakage of various chemical raw materials immediately caused terrible secondary damage to major urban areas. The high temperature turned a large number of lizard men into old acquaintances. The screams were temporarily isolated, but soon came from all directions. Desperate cries, the figures of lizard men struggling in pain with flames burning on their bodies, broken bodies in the ruins, and the desperate wails of dying people. All these hellish scenes on Earth broke out in just a few tens of seconds. The people of the entire Wulwan Empire were awakened at this moment. The dead may be happy, because although they died miserably, they did not have time to experience any pain. As for those who were still alive, they watched the most horrifying scene in their lives. The country with tens of millions of people fell into despair and incredible stupor. What happened? They were puzzled because they were living a very peaceful life and had almost forgotten what war was. Even after the end of the world, their armies went out to fight, but they only slaughtered the weak humans on the surface of the earth. Those that are about the same size as their pets can be killed just like weeding. But they could never imagine why the war would fall on them. Without any warning, the once peaceful city turned into ruins and hell on earth. However, there is no time for them to be idle. Because the explosion was followed by the damage to their bodies caused by strong radiation and the deeper pain brought by the leakage of chemical materials. The noses of many lizard men began to bleed, and some of them began to itch their skin. When they reached out and scratched, they actually grabbed off a large piece of flesh. Aha! Hiss, hiss, hiss. The cries of despair and terror spread throughout the Wulwan Empire. Stay with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.